I want to do a video about 9/11. There are people that have covered the whole thing up, the murdering, and that's what it was, murder of 3,000 people. It was a vicious, um, awful snuff film we were all forced to watch. Um, I say I could do 10 videos easily because there is so much information, and that's what really gets me the most is how much information there is out there for people to see, and then you wouldn't even. I mean, there's the facts, like there's so many that, like, Marvin Bush was the head of security right up until the day of 9/11. That's one thing. Cheney was told somebody to stand down. There was a kid that came in, and there was a prominent congressperson that said that he actually heard Cheney tell somebody. The person came in and they said, "Do the orders still stand?" And Cheney said, "Have you heard any different?" And so that was another thing. Then there was the fact that Bush was sitting there after he said that he had already seen the first plane hit the building, and then somebody came in and told him about the second plane. It must have been. So he sat there another 20 minutes or while, and that would be anybody else in their any mind would have gotten up from that grade school class. He says later, in an interview, he said later, "Well, I didn't want to get up and disturb the kids." Well, what is important, whether they, how they feel or how the whole nation feels about being under attack. Not to mention those kids being under attack. That to me is just totally punkish, dereliction of duty, criminal. You don't just sit in a class for 20 minutes while a second plane hits the building, because obviously, and he did mention, well, after the second plane hit, I knew something was going on. So what's he do? He sits there for 20 minutes. Okay, so you say, well, that's not proof of anything. Okay, well, okay, so you have him sitting there. You have Cheney, which gave himself the power of to be um, the head of NORAD. He 2 months prior to the collapse. That was not a collapse. That was not even metal does not collapse. How about that? That's a fact right there. Metal, when it's welded and bolted and everything else, it's a frame. It's not like a rinky-dink shed that you have in the backyard for 100 years. This is not a rinky-dink shed. This is bolted. This is like a ship that's straight up vertical, and it doesn't just collapse. That's another big fact in this whole thing. Metal does not collapse, and it doesn't disintegrate either, which is what that did. Not unless it's just blown to smithereens, which it was, which all three of them were. There's the other one too. And 2 months before 9/11, Larry Silverstein took out insurance on the buildings, and he got a double insurance for, just like they knew that they was going to blow up both buildings. Actually, they blew up 3 buildings, because there was one building a half a block away. The towers actually consisted of, there was 9 towers. There's little ones all in the middle, and there was the 2 big ones, and there was building 7, which people talk about, and people that don't are too lazy to research anything, don't know anything about building 7. But that was also blown up that day at about 5 o'clock that night, and it wasn't hit by anything, and it was 47 stories tall. Anyway, I've just told you so far. I told you about how Cheney put himself in front of in charge of NORAD, how he had a stand down order right there. That should have been totally investigated. The part about where the kid came in and asked him, "Do the orders still stand?" You know, he doesn't ever answer that particular question. That was, I think, may have been one of the questions that the families asked. Another question that the families asked was, how come in 2 whole hours there wasn't one intercept plane up there in 2 whole hours? And they never do explain it. They said, the general said, well, you see, they talk about these drills they had. See, they also had drills. Notice how whenever there's any kind of an attack, there's these drills involved. Well, the drills are the attack. The drills are what they turn live. And there was this recording that somebody says, is this a drill or is this an attack? Well, the general said, well, we were having drills that day, but so anyway, that um, I was talking about Cheney and how stand down orders. Well, Cheney might say, well, we were having a drill or something, but see, that doesn't get him off the hook for a stand down order. Um, then there is the fact that the planes all came from like Dulles Airport, which the Dulles brothers worked directly for the Rothschilds, and that was the Dulles Airport, so that would be a good airport. You got the secure here. You got the security. Oh, and also Marvin Bush was the head of security for Dulles Airport too. So that ties in there. See, you don't need that many people to pull something like this off. Um, a lot of criminals they work alone, and they don't need that many people. They need a demolition crew. They need people that can be in charge of NORAD, the final say on NORAD. So, like NORAD, it would be kind of like I can tell you how this would be taking place. Um, none of the people when you're in the military, um, you have to hurry up and wait. They say like you're waiting for your marching orders, and there wasn't any marching orders. Nobody was there to say get up in your plane, go after these guys. Um, there wasn't any marching orders because there was only stand down orders. There was only the guy coming in, do the orders still stand? Not to do anything, that kind of thing. So because he was in charge. See, now before that, NORAD would have the general would be in charge, and it would be a dereliction for him not to put up planes. But since he wasn't in charge, he had stand down orders too. He had to wait for orders from on high. Cheney, fascist, creepy Cheney, fascist orders. So that was another thing. Um, then you have like this plane that supposedly went into the Pentagon, and I believe that there was something that hit the Pentagon, but there was no imprint of engines, especially not Boeing engines, that would show. Like if you hit any kind of structure, it would show where the engines hit something. Because the engines kind of stick out. They're really huge, and they would really make a mark on something. Well, there is no engine marks. That was one of the things that was pointed out. Also, that the hole in the building was way too small for a jumbo jet. Then you had the one in Shanksville. The problem with that whole story was there wasn't any bodies, there wasn't any blood found at the scene. Um, there was a coroner later that said something, but what he said didn't really add up either. Like bodies don't. Um, you would find in any wreckage of a plane when you would find big body parts, not not just like they would disintegrate. So there's just tons and tons of things wrong, and I'll probably do another couple of videos of the things that are wrong, like the free fall for one thing. Buildings don't free fall ever, even if they were to collapse, as I say, they wouldn't come down in free fall speed. Free fall speed, that means there's really nothing at all in the way. So you can't collapse something and say and have it fall at free fall speed, because the collapse does not equal free fall speed. Okay, so that's all I'll do in this video. Thank you.